So you want to be a game master, right? So you made a mistake there, friends, sending me this thing. Sit out here all day when there's nothing else to do and do videos, right? All right. Dice are your friends. There is a movement out there, and there are certain systems that are leaning further and further away from the use of even dice as controls. And that's what dice are. Dice are controls. These are the tools that we're going to use to determine random factors that take the options off the table per se and give us a random effect, right? Of course, dice comes in all kinds of shapes and all kinds of sizes and so on and so forth. Give you a couple neat tricks if you have, or things to consider. Quite common today, wasn't so common back in my day. And regarding dice, if you use a system that doesn't use a lot of dice, not an issue. But if you're going to be the game master, rule number one when it comes to dice, expect to need extra dice. You may need more dice than you think you do, but more importantly, you're likely to have people show up at your table who do not own their own dice, who do not bring their own dice bag. Expect to need extra dice for everybody at the table. Ideally, look at your system requirements and have enough dice for everybody so they don't have to borrow somebody else's dice, right? Number two, color code your dice. This is something I learned 20 years ago, and I wish I had learned sooner. It makes all the sense in the world to me, all right? All the perfectly good sense in the world to me is that if you're going to throw your attack dice and you're going to do damage, throw the damage dice too. There's a good reason why a lot of your damage dice use a different die than your attack die. And one of them is this extra opportunity. So you could throw your attack die and your damage die at the same time. Obviously, if you miss, you ignore the damage. If you hit, the damage is done, already there. Bing, bang, boom. You're already moving ahead. You can expedite this. Encourage everybody at the table to do the same thing. This is also one of the reasons why, they come up with this concept of take 10 or take a 20. Our skill sets, if you have just enough margin of error when you're looking at somebody wanting to do something and their character's abilities or skills said that they have this much of a chance of success versus this much of a chance of success, you can decide that this requires a dice roll, this does not. It's not hard. Unless you're looking for that absolute, the pressure's on, and you absolutely, if you fail your damn roll, getting across that cavern, jumping that cavern gap or something, it could be bad. Well, obviously, that's when the dice rolls require. Keeping enough dice around to have everybody at the table, keeping enough color-coded dice, at least for yourself, really makes a difference. And you don't need a lot of fancy, flashy dice. There's a lot of really neat and nice dice, and certain systems actually have special requirements for dice. They require specific face dice that have symbols and stuff on them, or they need X amount of this or X amount of that, or only use this site, only use D6s or something like that. Be aware of that ahead of time so you don't find yourself at the table shortchanged. And if, for whatever reason, you find yourself in a position where you do not have enough dice or you don't have dice at all, specifically if you do not have dice at all, a deck of playing cards can be used as a dice. No? Well, I can take an ace through a 3, and now I got a D4. Just get 5 or 6, take one from each suite, and now I've got a small mini deck of D4s. I could just flip cards, whatever I get is the D4 result. D6, D8, you see? Not hard. D10, ace to 10, or ace to 9. Or, ace to 10, excuse me. So there's your 10 card, or your 10, 1 to 10 on your D, and then if you need a double, you just double it for percentile. We'll roll a deck of black cards and a roll of red cards and 10s and 1s. I mean, I've done it, so I know it can be done. And I did it for a long damn time. Sometimes you're not in a position where you're allowed to have dice or just something you can't keep your hands on. Or you can't have the variety of dice that you would like to have. But my friends, dice are your friends. Expect to need them. Don't expect your players to bring them to the table. And remember, if you're the game master, you're choosing to be the game master role. Being prepared for a lot of this sort of stuff is kind of expected for you too. It's just like you're expected to carry extra blank sheets for character sheets and potentially some extra NPC drop on the table because Joe's character just died sheets because they didn't have a spare to run themselves and didn't want to go through the hassle of making one. You got to figure that stuff out. But dice are your friends. And if you're playing the games that don't need dice, then why are you listening to my video?